Good morning, everybody. I am Brandy Kelly, and I'm a superintendent on a mission to lead with hope and to help my fellow educators do the same. The Lead with Hope podcast is a bi-weekly podcast that will inspire and empower you to lead with hope. Check out my website at leadwithhope.net. Dr. Jason Williamson is my guest today, and he is serving in his 20th year in public education. He serves as an assistant principal at Northside High School in Fort Smith, Arkansas. Dr. Williamson exemplifies positive servant and professional leadership that makes a difference in the lives of the scholars and the staff that he serves. Welcome to the Lead with Hope podcast, Dr. Williamson.
I am so excited, Dr. Kelly. I've listened to so many of the Lead with Hope podcasts, and the guests prior to me have set the standard and the bar really high. So I just want to try to make sure I do my part, not to embarrass myself here, you know.
Well, I'm looking forward to hearing about your story, and that leads us into our first question. So tell us, who are you? What's your purpose, your passion, and why did you become an educator?
I'm extremely passionate about putting students first. And I really talk about my 4 core: put students first, focus on their learning, support each other, and commit to growth. But this morning, what I want to share is how I got to education. I really believe that advocacy is why I'm here. But I also understand the importance of having someone in your life as a student that you can identify with from a diverse standpoint. And I'll tell you exactly what I mean. When I was in the 5th grade, I got the first opportunity to have an African-American educator in my life. He was my principal. Then again, in the 9th grade, I got another opportunity to have another Black male educator in my life, and he was my coach, Coach Green. So the principal was Mr. Tucker, and the coach was Coach Green. And then as I got to be in a high school setting, my third African-American male in my life was Mr. Wilson, who was a social studies teacher. So when you peel that onion back, what you see now is I came into this profession as a basketball coach teaching social studies. Mm-hmm. And I've been a building leader and a principal. And I don't think it's lost on me that all of those things are made possible because I saw those examples myself as a student. And I take it very, very near and dear to my heart to make sure that I am trying to impart that same confidence and role model status into the students of all races that I impact on a daily basis.
Yeah, the role models in our life really do shape us, and we never know the seeds that we are planting each and every day. But talk to us a little bit more about what it was like for you as you were going through your educational journey to have those role models in your life that both looked like you and didn't look like you.
Well, what happens is we get into these school settings and we take for granted how important those relationships are. Relationships matter in school. That's the main thing. If you can't have a relationship with a student, you're not going to be able to reach them. I don't care what background they have. Mm-hmm. So when I got to see someone that was in charge, so to speak, of the school, that really empowered me. I remember having a meeting. He met with some of the Black students in 5th grade, and he said, listen, I want to be clear. Me being here is important, but not because it gives you an unfair advantage. What it has done is given you more responsibility. You too have to support me. You have to help me be successful by going into classrooms and doing what you're supposed to do. Don't put me in a situation where you think you're coming into my office and you're getting a break. There were no breaks in Mr. Arthur's in his office. Trust me. But what it did is it set the standard for me. That has resonated with me throughout my career. Mm-hmm. I am very intentional about trying to build strong and positive relationships with students and staff alike, but I also give them the charge all the time. Look, you have to do more. You have to be better. And I've had chances in my career to really help students and advocate for students, and that's my purpose.
Yeah. And that's a powerful purpose. And you know that I believe in relationships to my core. That is an incredibly important part of what it is that we do in education. But you've hit on something that I want to unpack a little bit, and that is your principal he raised the bar for you. He was that role model, and he set a high bar for you. And like you said, he didn't cut you any slack because he knew that you had a lot of potential. And so he set that bar for excellence for you in 5th grade. And then look what you have done as you have I'm sure made him proud over the years.
We talk frequently.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's amazing. Yes. So then that leads me to my next question. Lead with Hope is a system of self-efficacy. The H stands for habits, O for optimistic outlook, P for passion, purpose, and perseverance, and E for excellence. So of that acronym, which one resonates most with you and why?
I'm going to steal a little bit from some of your past guests. You have limited them to just one, so I'm going to take 2 myself. So my first one, though, is habits. He taught me, my father, I want to give credit to my father and my mother who raised me and really instilled all those values in me. So I don't want to get that lost in this presentation. But what I learned was what he told me, what my 5th grade principal told me was, Jason, we got some 12-year-old men and some 40-year-old boys. And as a 5th grader, you don't necessarily understand what that means. But what he was trying to teach me was you have to have the right habits in place to be successful. Your decision making has to be on point. Your moral compass needs to be on point. Your intentionality needs to be on point. And as a leader, especially an educational leader, we have to be very intentional about how we lead. And we do that with the habits that we create that helps us go to what our expectations are for people that we are in charge with, that we're charged with leading. So my habits is being inside a classroom daily. I want to be in a classroom. I want to be there so the kids can see me, so the teachers see that I support them. That's one of the major habits that I have. And I know that if I do those things, my presence makes a difference and gives people confidence that they could be successful. And that's what it is about my habits. I'm all about people knowing that I care about what's going on. Now, being an old coach, when I first got in, I was a coach. And one of the things that people sitting next to me said was, we don't want a coach. We want a teacher. So I have been intentional, especially being a Black male. Sometimes we get put into this box of being a disciplinarian as our strength. I've been very intentional about making sure that curriculum, instruction, and assessment is my strength. And I think that's my strong point, because I really get into the curriculum, instruction, and assessment piece of my job or my charge. And so those are my habits. I have to be optimistic about life. It has to happen. I'm wired that way. I'm a glass half full person. If you give me a scenario, I'm only looking for the 3 ways it's going to work. I don't want to really talk about all the ways it's not going to work. I think that just drags us down. So those are my 2: habits and being optimistic.
And I love those 2. With the habits, I love the fact that you as an assistant principal are in the classroom every day. And it sounds to me like your focus is truly on not just the students, but their learning and that expectation for them to be the best version of themselves. And the habits that you are intentional about and you implement on a day in, day out basis show other people what your expectations are for them. That's a powerful one.
Absolutely.
And then that optimism piece, glass half full, glass half empty. Do you think that in education, we are more so made up of people who are optimistic or not optimistic?
I think that's a fluid question.
Yeah.
Because a lot of it has to do with who you are as a person and what your faith value is. We walk a different, people that believe, and I consider you to be a believer. We walk somewhat of a different path. I don't use the term boss ever, because we have supervisors. You're a superintendent and you're a supervisor, but we all work for Jesus.
Right.
And so that if we have that grounding, it's easier to be a glass half full, because we know what the ultimate payoff is.
That's a beautiful answer. I love that. And I do. I think that, whenever you know what your purpose is, and as believers, our purpose here is bigger than just what we do on a day in, day out basis. We have to look at the big picture.
That's right.
And for me, I have to follow my core values. What I believe in, that's what drives every single decision that I make. And whenever I stay on that course, I am in tune with my purpose, and my purpose is fueled by the passion that I have as a believer. So thank you for that answer. I love that. Now, the next question is, life can be so hard. And you brought up the fact that we both have that faith. And I think that faith is what has gotten me through a lot of my adversity. Mm-hmm. But, most of us face adversity in life. Tell us how you overcome adversity and lead with hope.
Romans 12:12 says, be joyful in hope, mm-hmm. and patient in affliction, and faithful in prayer. Mm-hmm. And that's I call it the recipe for success.
Yeah.
And for me, adversity and trouble, so to speak, or trying times only present themselves to the people that are most ready to deal with them. Mm-hmm. And so what I do is I stay the course. I really draw to what I believe in and who I am. I don't let people dim my light. And that has been something that I've had to learn over the course of time. I've been told that I have a big personality mm-hmm. and then I don't find a room that I'm shy in. Mm-hmm. And sometimes you allow other people's lack of imagination to limit your imagination and your creativity. And that can do is that can stall you out. So what I do is I just do the best that I can with what I have daily. And I hold myself to an accountability standard that I don't worry about what the outside world is doing necessarily. We just went through a situation at our high school where I probably didn't say things that people really liked necessarily, wow. but at the end of the day, we made decisions that was fair and equitable for students, mm-hmm. and we just have to have that north compass to know that when we're making those decisions, that they align with what's right, and then we have to be comfortable with those decisions, and it's not easy.
No.
It's not easy.
It is not. And I think in leadership, something that it's hard to articulate at times, but there are many decisions that there's more than one option. There's more than, one way that you can go with it. And it's not necessarily right or wrong, but you have to go with, as we said before, those core values, what's driving you. And I think it's important that your core values as a leader aligns with the core values of the school district or the organization that you work within as well. If there's not a good fit there, then that's going to be problematic for you and those that you lead. But when you consider your core values, what would you say your core values are?
I too, what led me to this podcast was I have been working on myself an acronym that I like.
Yeah.
And so I'll share that right now with you. It's called PACE. PACE is not new under the sun, right? Mm-hmm. But my core values is having purpose, mm-hmm. Being an advocate, being collaborative, and then pushing for excellence. Mm. And the way that I do that is I do that through the lens of making sure that I put students first and I focus on their learning. Mm-hmm. And then I look to support everybody around in the whole situation. And I'm always about being growth. What I like about you, this podcast, is you talk about the reflective piece of self-efficacy.
Yeah.
And Hattie talks to us about collective teacher efficacy as being the number one ingredient for positive student outcomes. Yeah. So if we can't pour into teachers and help them find their voice and find their creativity and find their confidence, mm-hmm. and our kids won't ever get what they need from a support standpoint. So right. So it's not separate, it's together. Mm-hmm. And that's what I'm here for, to be a transformational leader, And I know these are all catchphrases, but these are true.
It's true. Yep.
To be a transformational leader, to be a servant leader, and just find ways to be impactful for the people that I've been blessed to be around.
Yeah. And I think you have said that perfectly there. I mean, our focus has to be student learning, but in order for our students to have the best outcomes possible, we have to pour into our teachers, and we have to have those collaborative systems and structures and processes in place in our schools so that the teachers can be the best versions of themselves. And when you're dealing with human beings, none of that is simple. It is very complicated, right?
That's exactly right. And as leaders, we're human.
Yeah.
We don't look for the courageous conversation. No one enjoys that conversation, but they're necessary. And what I like to say, I have a presentation I do for people called Control Your Narrative. And a part of controlling your narrative is embracing that there are some new horizons out there. And by new horizons, some new way of thinking sometimes, some different strategies, a different point of view. And we can't be relegated to that age-old answer, well, we've done this way for 100 years. Well, and I use this, I said, they didn't allow women to vote till 1920. So for a long time in this country, we were doing something a particular way. But that didn't make it the right way. So we have to be open to new horizons. 53% of the people in America never live more than 53 or 50 miles from where they grew up. And so they get in this box, and it's like, okay, this is the only way to do something. And there's so many different ways out there to do things.
Yeah, and we limit our thinking whenever we become so rigid, so black and white. And, I love your acronym: purpose, advocate, collaboration, and excellence. All of that is so needed in education today, and I think it will provide that hope that I talk about. Now, at this current point, what is a project that you are passionately working on?
Well, I kind of introduced it to you, but so what I've been doing, I'm really passionate about getting out and doing some public speaking, doing some consulting work, all the things that I've been listening to your previous guests about. Like I'm fanboying all of those people, right? Following them, trying to connect with them. And I'd be remiss not to mention Sarah Johnston, who has been someone that has been such a blessing in my life. And she's kind of helped me get out of my comfort zone a little bit. But what I've been doing, and for people that are watching, what I've created is a check your pace deal here. And I took that as a opportunity to help with culture, to help with team building, to help with, just wherever you are. And I combined the pace with color, which orange is a stimulant, something that you want to get going. Blue is kind of something that you trust. Green is a mindset, and purple is a fuel type of concept. And in order for you to be able to then go down and create you a pace for a goal, I do the whole workshop there. And I have a 3x5 card that I leave the workshop people with. I love to come do that at your school, not just your school, your listener schools, your conferences, all those things. And I just think that we have to be intentional about the pace that we use. Pace is flexible. That's my pace. Dr. Kelly will have her own pace or what she likes to do or what she thinks is important. And so that's a project that I've been doing. I've been going out speaking to schools, teams, everybody about checking their pace.
And I really do love what you're doing there with PACE because, as I said before, that acronym is exactly what we need to give our educators hope. And in this climate, we need hope more now than ever. And our students need our teachers to be healthy, to be well, be self-reflective, and to build that level of self-efficacy so that then they can model that, just like you had with your principal in 5th grade. And so, Dr. Williamson, as we wrap up this podcast, tell the listeners how they can connect with you.
Well, I'm a work in progress. That's one of my growth areas. Okay. But you can get me at secondmilehub.com. That's my email, Jason@secondmilehub.com. I'm all about the second mile. I wrote a devotional called The Second Mile Encouragement. You can get that on Amazon. That's an 18-week, 5-day a week, 18-week devotional. The 18 weeks, I'm an educator, so that's a semester. So, and my social media, I'm Second Mile Williamson on Instagram, and Jason Williamson EDD on LinkedIn. But I look forward to connecting. I really want to get out and coach leaders and be a source of energy for them and encouragement. And so I'm hoping to really get out and do so. If you hear some opportunities, Dr. Kelly, I'm all about doing whatever I need to do to try to get in front of people and maybe try to share some of this passion.
Yeah, and I think your messaging is spot on right now. I will tell you, it was about 4 years ago, I had my first executive coach, and coaching was a game changer for me. Oh. I wish I would have had that when I started. Mm-hmm. And, it took me a while to get it. But once I did, that is something that I think is a very important ingredient for successful leadership. Leadership's not easy. And like you said, we have to have those courageous conversations, but nobody enjoys them.
They don't enjoy them.
But it's about growing people. That's what this job's about, what this calling is about. And so I appreciate your time today, and I hope we can stay connected.
Definitely will.
I want to thank you for coming on the show today.
Thank you so much. Have a blessed day.
You too.
This podcast is a proud member of the Teach Better Podcast Network. Better today, better tomorrow, and the podcast to get you there. Explore more podcasts at teachbetter.com/podcasts, and we'll see you at the next episode.